Welcome back, Halo followers. Today we're going to be talking about XP progression once again, but also mainly the lack of content in the game. 343 has recently come out and declared that there will be some changes happening to Halo Infinite's matchmaking and its playlist here soon. So let's go ahead and start reading that. Guys, before I jump into it, be sure to smash that like button blue and be sure to subscribe. Follow me on the journey of following Halo for over 10 years now, all right? So Unishek, a community manager, says, "We've been reading your feedback and we're working on plans to add Fiesta, Tactical Slayer, SWAT, and free-for-all playlist as we speak. They won't land by December 8th, but the team is pushing to get them in before the end of the year. Recently, I made a video on this clarifying and reminding everyone, which we've known since day one back on November 15th when the beta, quote, beta dropped. That isn't all that Unishek said, but I recently talked about how all day one maps and modes are already here. 343 themselves confirmed that on December 8th, there's not going to be a big handful of maps and modes that we didn't get because this is, quote, a beta. What we have right now is pretty much the full release of the game. And really what I want to know at this point, and I think it would relieve some anger amongst the community, is if they just gave us a reason why. Why after 6 years of playing this game is there such a massive lack of maps and modes and things that are expected like infection or SWAT or assault are not here, not even in custom games, anywhere to be seen. So I'm glad that 343 is addressing the playlist. There's a little bit more here, which we'll read now. He says, "Our goal for events is to try new modes prior to adding to playlist. We'll monitor playlist health after the 3 editions above and adjust our offerings if needed, but we're excited to make these updates before the holidays. This is just the start of the conversation with y'all." So just to read that one more time, events, they are going to be testing new modes prior to adding to the playlist. Now, for me, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense because SWAT is obviously a Halo classic. Fiesta is something that Halo fans love. Maybe it's not something that should be on the roster all the time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they should have an action sack playlist for, wild game modes. I don't know what people really feel about Fiesta overall. I know people love it, but it is a classic. And also free-for-all playlist, right? I don't quite know why these things need to be tested if they're going to work yet. I think these are kind of duh things, but this kind of roots back to an issue with the customization and microtransactions as well. They are selling classic armor from, the previous Halo games, like, the knife that we have on the default Halo Reach armor. They want to sell us that. They're selling some classic Halo 5 armor. People that, really loved it a lot, they're selling that for $20. Instead of adding new content to the game, they are kind of preying on nostalgia. And now I really don't quite fully understand why we have to go through this testing process. It's almost as if they want to test Slayer. I mean, where's the testing for Slayer? Do people still enjoy Slayer? I feel like it's coming from that logic. So Unishek goes on to say, "A social Slayer playlist with multiple variations is also in the works. We see this request the most, but we won't be able to get that one ready until after the holidays. We hope you understand and enjoy the ones that make it in before the team takes a well-deserved break." So absolutely, 343 does deserve a break. I am just a little bit confused on why the game is lacking so much, and I made a poll, and I will continue to make these polls because I think they're super important. It's not limited to just my subscribers. In fact, a lot of the times these polls actually reach out to anyone following Halo content on YouTube, watching content. So people that don't even know about my channel will often get these polls, and I say that because it's not like I'm creating a big bias sub-community in the Halo community, right? But these are what people are saying, and this does line up with what I've seen elsewhere. XP progression is only 20% of the problem, most people are saying, right? The big problem that I kind of regret not talking more about this week is the lack of content, including maps, modes, and Forge. And ultimately, I feel like this number should be higher because when you look at it, yes, XP progression can screw with the experience. So can the battle pass and expensive microtransactions, right? Especially customization. But when you really look at the fundamentals, why are we here? Why do we care about Halo? It's because we have fun with the gameplay. And if we're playing on the same 3-4 maps over and over and over, well, like I said almost 2 weeks ago, this is cool. This game is great. It's fun. However, when the honeymoon phase is over, it's going to become pretty negative. People are going to start picking apart the game and start playing the same maps over and over, start having the same experience over and over, and ultimately 343 is going to lose that overall interest they want so desperately for Halo Infinite to have. What's the highest you would pay for an armor coating in Halo Infinite? And I also said assume 343 has to monetize them. What's a fair value to you? Only 3% of people said $20. 1% said $15. $10 at 8%, $5 at 21%. So the number going up pretty dramatically there. But then $3 or less down at 67%. Most people, 3/4 of people pretty much think that, actually more than that, more than 3/4 of people think that these microtransactions as a fair value need to be $5. $5 or less seems to make a lot more sense. But even last year, 343 had a huge heads up because the Monarch armor coating came out to be $5, which is like just this really boring typical color. But now we're getting these ugly armor coatings for $20, right? So 343 has to learn a little bit better about how to, one, make actually good content that people would want to actually pay $20 for. Again, I think that is absurd, absolutely absurd. It's really polarizing the community, and I really do not like that 343 is not talking about how much these microtransactions are. I know that they're probably discussing it, that this is probably going way up to the top of command of Microsoft, but like what 343 told us the other day, which it seems to be implying that 343 wants us to give feedback. They want us to yell, because the fact of the matter is, most likely, guys, and this is what I've heard behind the scenes as well, we, the community, have much more power in developing and changing Halo than 343 does. I know that sounds absurd because we're not actually developing the game. And of course, to some extent, actually to a large extent, sure, they're developing the game, yada, yada. But everything that Halo is now at this point is from feedback, from content creators, from people talking, from comments, from polls, from the Insider program, from the Foreigner program. It is the community that is developing Halo. And as the community, I'm saying that, look, guys, there's over 60,000 people here saying that these microtransactions do not provide fair value where they are. Barely anyone thinks that, all right? 10% of people would pay more than $10 or more, right? Most people think that these armor coatings are worth $3 or less. And I would have to agree. I think a lot of these aren't worth even $1, maybe $2 for some, but the thing is that these armor coatings suck. They don't even look good. A lot of them look really cheesy and bad, in my opinion. They're lazy, and a lot of them are pretty much matching the default colors, right? So they took a system that people loved and expected and monetized it. That is the worst thing you can do. And I said this over a year ago. I said, if they monetize something, they need to add something new. They need to make something new a part of the customization menu, right? Like, for example, maybe you wanted to customize your vehicle. That is something that is new in Halo that has never been done before. They need to create new systems, new features, new functions, new armor pieces, new options like the tech suit, things like that, things that people have come to not expect in the customization, and then monetize that. I said this a year ago. If they monetize nostalgia, people are going to get pissed off. The upsetting part is that it's probably going to work. The truth of the matter is that nostalgia is it can be a poison. It can really be a poison. Not only in video games, but in also life. It makes people do stupid things. And that includes buying hundreds of dollars worth of colors on their Spartan. 343 is depending entirely on the Halo community. If they polarize and alienate us, this is going to be a disaster, because it's going to be just like the other Halo games where they did a bunch of stuff that no one wanted, they didn't quite listen to people, and they're not talking about the expensive armor codes. And I understand that this is probably the least of our problems right now, even though I think in my other poll, over 25% of people think that the expensive microtransactions is the biggest problem with the game right now. And that kind of leaks into customization and XP progression. I would say that those all are kind of bundled into a whole thing. So that's about half of what people think the problem is. And I really hope 343 just does not basically wait for us to just shut up about this and accept it, because I'm not going to shut up and accept it. I think $20 is a scam for a lot of these armor coatings. I think it's ridiculous to take something that the Halo community has had for so long and upcharge us through the battle pass and upcharge us through a feature that we used to have. We want new features, and people will spend money on new things, not taking away old features and then making it into some kind of like special feature that you have to pay for or wait for. This is exactly the wrong way to do it to a T. And I feel like they haven't even earned it. It would be different if the game was fruitful, if it had tons of content, Forge, campaign, all the bells and whistles that you would expect, that we expected. But now we've been given something that looks like barely made it through the finish line, as well as been delayed over a year. And then now we also have this really predatory microtransaction system, which, by the way, they knew was probably going to happen. We just didn't let our voices be heard enough. And I should clarify real quick, there is a large likelihood, that 343, this is out of their control. In fact, 343 probably agrees with us and wants us to let our voices be heard, because Microsoft is going to be the one that allows them to loosen up their aggressive microtransaction system that they have right now. Base modes like Assault, Infection, Forge, all the other game modes that are missing, right? These are things to be expected. This is not how you grow a fan base. This is how you disappoint people and turn people off the game for a long time. If they think that launching the game bare bones and then dripping us over the next year of basic features and modes and maps that should have been expected at launch after 6 years of waiting for the game, then I have bad news. I'm pretty sure that is going to backfire. I think the community will be weak and not nearly as strong as it could have been. I'm worried about the future of Halo Infinite over this next month or two, because it doesn't really look like there is going to be substantial content. And yes, there is a lack of content, including maps and modes and Forge, but that does not include more customization items. The customization is already so weak, and adding $1,000 worth of microtransactions is not fixing this problem. And I hope to God 343 or Microsoft do not think that adding a bunch of microtransactions is going to fix this content problem, because it is a big problem. I think if this is not addressed as quickly as possible, the community is going to keep declining and declining and declining. And I say all this not to hurt Halo, obviously, not for views, but to get my point across. I'm trying to get my voice heard, and I think y'all agree with me. I'm getting pretty good like ratios on my videos, 97, 98%. So yeah, hopefully you guys agree with me here. I don't like the direction that this is going. The playlist fix is nice, but that really is just the tip of the iceberg, right? How are they going to address this? I think showing us a roadmap, talking about the lack of content, talking about the expensive microtransactions and what they think is fair value is certainly a dangerous thing to talk about, especially because, that is something that could go viral. People could talk about it, could make it worse. But I think being transparent is good, as long as they're not kind of like how EA did it back in the day, like rewarding, making people feel like they're proud and like they have accomplishments and stuff. I just want some dialogue talking about this for once, because we knew this game was going to be free to play for years and years and years. We knew this game was going to have armor coatings for over a year now. And genuinely, again, I'm going to loop back to it because it's such a massive, important point. The fact is that they have taken armors, they've taken nostalgia, they've taken colors, things that we've had for 20 years, and dropped this game on a 20-year anniversary and monetize an entire iconic feature instead of adding something new to the game. That is why people are upset. That is why people are not tolerating wanting to pay $20 for the game, wanting to pay $20 for an armor color. I'm not saying to Microsoft and 343 to not have $20 microtransaction, right? I'm saying give us something that is worth $20. Give us something that is actually worth it, because what you've done here is you have cashed in to the Halo community. You have turned an entire piece an entire part of Halo into essentially a slot machine when you really didn't need to. Halo's already a multi-billion-dollar franchise. The game is already going to be wildly successful with just the campaign sales alone. They don't, quote, need to make money somehow, especially with armor coatings that are literally worth half of what a previous Halo game would have been, right? Or at 1/3 to be specific. That's just not right to me. And by the way, $5 is still too much in my opinion for most armor coatings. I think most of them should be $1 to $2, maybe $3, depending on how much effort actually went into these things. But what they have here, they are asking way too much from us, way too early. Game is not deserving of $20 colors yet. And I think there is some room for that to be potentially a feature when the game is packed full of content. And I mean packed. I'm talking about 3-4 years from now. But right now, no. And especially how they talked about how this game was going to have better customization. This customization is the weakest in the franchise, right next to Halo 1 and 2, right? This is really weak stuff. And I think people are just starting to catch on, you know? And but anyways, guys, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but that's just my 2 cents about the whole thing. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you did, be sure to subscribe. Join me on the journey. Let your voice be heard down in the comment section below, or go on Twitter, go on Reddit, whatever you need to do, whatever you think might work. Obviously, what's really important right now is that we get our voice heard, we talk, and try to create a dialogue, because that's what works. That's what's worked every time. That's why I think Halo Infinite's campaign is going to be great. That's why I think the multiplayer is great right now, is because we bitched and complained and ranted, right? No matter how many people think, oh, you just be grateful, be happy, you know. I agree with that idea. However, there is a time and place for complaining, and it does serve a purpose. All right, see you guys soon. All right, take care. Peace.